What is going on, everyone? It is me, the Lone Vault Wanderer, and I'm here to talk about Prey. The other day, Bethesda invited me out to an early demo event for the game. This is actually the second time that I've played Prey. The first time that I played the first hour, but I didn't actually make a video on it because I was busy at the time. However, I am here to make a video of my second play of the game, and I just wanted to give you my early thoughts of the demo, what I thought of it, any problems that the game had. And first, I just wanted to say, Bethesda invited me to this event, so thank you, Bethesda, for that. We played about 40 minutes to an hour of the game. It depended how you played it, how extensively you explored, etc. But before I go into my specific impressions of the game, I do want to give the top to bottom rundown of the demo itself. Bethesda has provided me some notes that I'm just going to read verbatim pretty much to you, so you can get a nice overall feel of the demo. Then I'll go into my specific opinions. So the game's overview. Prey is a first-person sci-fi action game from Arcane Studios, creators of the Dishonored series. In Prey, you play as Morgan Yu, a brilliant scientist aboard the Talos 1 space station, and the first human enhanced with access to unique abilities, both human and alien. Using improvised and found weapons, your wits, and the abilities you choose throughout the game, fight through the alien infestation and escape Talos 1. Now, to explain the particular level that I was in when I was playing this demo, we were in something called the Psychotronics Lab, and it's a highly restricted area of Talos 1 where TranStar employees study the Typhon aliens and use them to develop and test neuromods. To safely enter Psychotronics, you must acquire a psychoscope and calibrate it by scanning several captive Typhon aliens. Your AI guide, January, and your brother, TranStar CEO Alex Yu, will offer thoughts as you progress through the opening areas. The more you explore Psychotronics, the more you learn about the Typhon and about TranStar's research. And the objective of the demo was to reach this particular area called the Guts, or the Gravity Utility Tunnel System, which is a maintenance tunnel that runs throughout Talos 1, funneling resources to different parts of the station. The tunnels maintain zero gravity, giving Morgan an opportunity to navigate to other parts of the station. Alright, so that's a really broad general overview of the particular demo, and I do have some thoughts of the demo based on my two experiences now of the game that I wanted to share with you. And of course, you are seeing the gameplay of my recent demo playthrough in the background now. First of all, I thought this straight away after I played the first demo, and I still think it to this day with the second demo, and that's the story is the most compelling aspect of the game to me personally, and the setting and the lore and the reasons why you're on this space station, the character you're playing as. I think the narrative aspect, to me anyways, is the most compelling aspect of Prey so far, at least from what I've experienced. The first hour of the game, funnily enough, you'll be able to demo that in 2 weeks, I believe, but that first hour really does set the scene for the narrative and the story of the game, and I think from the get-go it intrigues you as to why, as Morgan, you are on this space station, the reasons you were kept there, why things turned to shit, essentially. I don't want to give too much away, but yes, to me personally, it's the world, it's the story, and it's the narrative that's going to pique a lot of people's interest with this game. And I hate to make the comparison now because I feel like I always mention this game. However, the premise of this game is almost identical, very similar at least to Bioshock. It really is. You are in this dystopian setting, something has gone wrong because of scientific testing, these special unique alien powers that you can obtain through the use of neuromods and psi-hypos. It's exactly like Eve hypos and Adam/plasmids in Bioshock. It's very, very similar, and that should be to no one's surprise because when you look at this game, it's very Bioshock-like. It already has from the get-go Easter eggs and references to Bioshock with the wrench that you obtain as you play the game, which from memory from my first playthrough is called Hephaestus, which is a level in Bioshock. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that it is. But yes, the point is, if you do like a game like Bioshock, System Shock, Dishonored, really the world, the story, and the narrative is fairly interesting, and to a lot of people that like story within games, and good story at that, like I do, I think that's going to be the most compelling aspect of this game. The second thing I really wanted to mention is that there's a lot to get your head around with this game, and it's actually quite hard. There was a bit of a challenge that Bethesda posed to us as we played the game, and essentially whoever didn't die throughout the demo once, then they would be given a lot of kudos. There was no reward or present or anything like that if we did so, but there had been several play sessions before I got there, and apparently no one had played the demo and not died once. And I could see why, because it's not just the enemies that can kill you pretty fast, it's also things in the world, whether it's fire shooting from the walls or electricity shooting out from you that can actually one-shot you. If you're not careful enough, and if you're not using the glue gun or the glue cannon, which is one of your primary weapons in the game, you can be caught out fairly quickly and die. But getting back to the point that there's a lot to get your head around, there's just a lot of stuff to bear in mind as you play this game, game, and maybe it's because I hadn't played the game in several months, and we were dropped in somewhat in the middle of the game, I believe. There's just a lot to learn. There's a lot of neuromods you need to get your head around. The weapons are pretty much straightforward, although with the glue gun, you don't really know that you can use it to climb walls. You don't necessarily know that you can use it to stop fire shooting out from pipes and things like that. So there's a lot of subtle things that you need to learn. In particular, the skill tree. As you gain new neuromods, you can upgrade your skills and get new skills and stuff like that. And there's a bunch of different stuff, which at times it overwhelmed me a little bit, maybe because I'm a casual, I don't fucking know. But there's just a lot of stuff to learn. If you really want to enjoy and play this game, you need to start it from the start. And again, I hadn't played it in several months, so I'm going to assume that that's where my issue was. But in terms of the skills and the neuromods and the powers, etc., there really is a lot to get your head around. But once you do, it is a fun game to play. And to run down the list of powers that Morgan had in the demo, the first one is Mimic, where you can camouflage yourself by taking the form of any nearby object, like a coffee mug, for example. You all would have seen this in a lot of the trailer and the gameplay footage that Bethesda's already released. And then there was something called a kinetic blast, where you would create a physical blast that would just deal damage and push objects back. And then there was something called combat focus, which if you've ever used the bullet time mod for Fallout, it's essentially like that. It slows time down for you and allows for quicker shooting, and it allows for more accurate attacks and things like that. And then there are a bunch of other different abilities that I won't get into, but those are the three main ones that we had in this demo. And then there were a bunch of weapons as well, most of which can be upgraded too. So as I played this game, I was mostly using the pistol, which I ended up upgrading to improve its damage. There's also the wrench, again, Bioshock reference, a shotgun, an EMP charge, a recycler charge, which was really fun. When you throw it, it actually attracts objects within a short vicinity and just breaks them into fragments. So it's a great way to deal with multiple little mimics that you'll encounter. And then of course there's the glue cannon. There is this gun called the Huntress Boltcaster, which I thought was this really cool weapon, and I was trying to shoot it at enemies, and then one of the Bethesda guys comes up behind me and says, "Lone, you know you're firing foam bolts, right? They're literally like foam bullets that don't do any damage, and you're just using it as a distraction to take away the attention of a Typhon." So yes, there's just a bunch of stuff that you need to get your head around, and I'm looking forward to actually playing the game just from the start and seeing how well the game educates you and runs the tutorials, because I didn't really get that in this demo, but again, because I was in the middle of the game roughly, so that explains that. But third, I just want to talk about the gameplay more generally and shooting at enemies and attacking, etc. It's fun. It is fun. The mimics are always posing this unknown threat because they camouflage themselves as random objects, and as you get closer, they'll fucking pop up out of nowhere, scare the shit out of you and attack you. And if you're not ready, you will die, because they don't deal too much damage, but they keep attacking you. They move around. It's hard to get them pinpointed, and that's where the glue gun really comes into handy, because you're going to be using it to slow them down, and then you finish them off with a wrench or a pistol or something like that. The Typhons or Typhoons, I never know how to pronounce that. I'm pretty sure it's Typhon because it's 1-O, but the Typhons are the more harder enemies. They're essentially much bigger mimics that you can see much more easier. They don't tend to pop out, although sometimes they do. They have a lot more health. They're harder to kill. They'll take more damage off of you. So they're one of the enemies that you really need to get your head around. I remember playing the first demo and I died from 2 Typhons that were attacking me. So what I did was get this random turret that was in one area of the room, carried it with me, put the turret in front of the Typhons, and the turret would just shoot at them and kill them for me. And that goes to the point that there's a lot of ways to kill enemies. There's a lot of ways to deal with things in this game. But fighting Typhons is a fun experience, especially when you got the kinetic blast, for instance, and you catch them off guard. First use that to push them back, deal some heavy damage, and then you'll come in with a pistol or use your glue gun and then come up and hit them with a wrench as they're incapacitated. But aside from the mimics and the Typhons, I don't believe there are any other enemies that I came across. Although there are different types of Typhons. So for instance, there is a Phantom, which is a humanoid Typhon that has higher speed and that has better combat ability. There's an electric Phantom, which is a Phantom type Typhon that will create duplicates of itself and emit toxic clouds that will damage you. But I didn't really encounter those other enemies. All I really encountered were the mimics and the regular Typhons. So overall, the gameplay was fun. I see it being much more exciting once you actually get a bunch of different powers to use on top of the weapons that you have. Again, it's like Bioshock, honestly. And that's not a bad thing, really, it's not. For me, it works beautifully. But if you didn't like Bioshock and you didn't like System Shock and things like that, it might not be your cup of tea, but for me it is. And the last thing that I wanted to mention in terms of performance, we were playing on PCs. They looked like to be relatively beefy PCs. I was using a controller because I'm a fucking casual, but you could also use a mouse and keyboard if you wished. The game seemed to run fine. The first time that I played it, there were frame rate issues, mind you, especially especially through the combat-heavy situations. But this time around, because they had several months to fix it and work on it, it did get better, although there were times where if I would walk into a room, there might be frame drops, there might be stutters and things like that. But relatively, it was a fairly stable experience, so I am surprised why the demo in 2 weeks isn't also coming to PC as well, because it seemed to be running okay, in my opinion anyways, but that could have been down to the really great PCs that they had on hand. But anyways, Wastelanders, I hope you liked hearing my thoughts about Prey. It releases on May 5. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Does this look like a game that you would want to get into and that you would want to play? I'm not going to suggest that you buy it. Listen to my thoughts, listen to other people's thoughts in particular, and come to your own decision as to whether you want to get this game. I can see how it's not for everyone, but for me, again, as a fan of BioShock and those kinds of dystopian style games, it's probably something I want to be picking up. Anyways, that's all from me. This has been the Lone Vault Wanderer. Please take care of yourself, and would you kindly keep fighting the good fight.